Business statement, Leader of the House.
Very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The business for the week commencing the 2nd of June includes Monday the 2nd of June, second reading of the Bus Services No. 2 Bill, Lords. Tuesday the 3rd of June, consideration of Lords amendments to the Armed Forces Commissioner Bill, followed by, if necessary, consideration of a Lords message. Followed by general debate on dementia care. The subject for this debate was determined by the Backbench Business Committee in an unallotted time. Wednesday the 4th of June, remaining stages of the Product Regulation and Meteorology Bill, Lords. Thursday the 5th of June, debate on a motion on high street banking closures and banking hubs, followed by debate on a motion on safety regulations in the construction and planning of battery energy storage sites. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 6th of June, the House will not be sitting. The provisional business for the week commencing the 9th of June will include Monday the 9th of June, remaining stages of the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, Day 1, Tuesday the 10th of June, remaining stages of the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, Day 2.
Shadow Minister Joy Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it is an honour to be responding again to business questions as we march on to recess. And I know that the Leader of the House has had a challenging few weeks, but I want to start by thanking her for everything that the Leader has done to advocate for members in this House. But first, I want to point out that this morning we learned the government has been prevented from signing their Chagos surrender deal by the High Court. When will the Prime Minister come to the House and explain this latest humiliation and masterclass in how not to negotiate in Britain's interests? Now, I know that members opposite and members across this House have often said things that we regret in the Chamber and elsewhere. And I know that the Right Honourable Lady has said she regrets her words on rape gangs. But it is for the victims of those rape gangs to decide whether those regrets are enough. And it is time for the government to finally take action on this scandal. So will she grant a debate in government time on the rape gang scandal and commit the government to the national inquiry the victims deserve? Now, I spoke last time in business questions and asked the Leader of the House to ask the Chancellor to U-turn on her disastrous economic policies. Since then, things have got even worse. This week, inflation that they inherited at 2% from the last government has surged to 3.5%. Today, public sector net borrowing hit £20.2 billion, the fourth highest figure for the month since records began. We've had a disastrous budget followed by an emergency one, and it looks like the next one could be catastrophic. It seems, though, that the Deputy Prime Minister has also had enough of the Chancellor's economic policies too. Except we on this side want to see the tax raids on businesses and households reversed. The Deputy Prime Minister wants more tax and more spend. But then, yesterday, the Prime Minister wouldn't rule out more tax rises either. So I think we can all see what's coming. £40 billion of tax rises last autumn was never going to be enough for this government. A government that is tough with the vulnerable, but weak with the unions. Now, she may be on leadership manoeuvres, but it was quite the shopping list of new taxes that the Deputy Prime Minister is after. Although, curiously, further taxes on second homes wasn't included. It is now the people who save hard for their retirement and build businesses that are next in the firing line for the tax raid obsession of this Labour government. So, to pensioners, farmers, and business owners, we can now add savers to the list of people that this government seemed determined to make poorer. So, will the Leader of the House grant a debate in government time on the government's economic plans so the Deputy Prime Minister can also come and set out her tax plans for the House? I'm very interested to see the tag team operation there. Or, if the Deputy Prime Minister is otherwise engaged, maybe we could turn our attention to yesterday's welcome U-turn from the Prime Minister. Now, I understand the Prime Minister has always been gifted with the most flexible of principles. But it was quite the slight yesterday to see him admit to promising a U-turn on punishing pensioners without any date for the U-turn or explanation of whether it would be all or just some pensioners. Crucially, we didn't hear an apology from him. So, will the Leader of the House grant a debate in government time on the winter fuel payment U-turn so the Chancellor or the PM can come to this House and apologise to pensioners and set out when she will give pensioners the certainty they can heat their homes next winter? Let me conclude by saying this. Yes, we are, thank you. We are watching the slow motion car crash with no economic plan but to tax and spend as fast as they can. It's not the gingerbread man, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's fast and tax as fast as they can, and that's what's happening here. And we are watching the chaos of a Chancellor and a Deputy Prime Minister falling all over themselves to see who can put up the most taxes. We are watching a Prime Minister who has to undo the decisions of his own government in the space of months, but can't bring himself to apologise. The government is already showing that it has failed to learn the lessons of all socialist governments, that eventually they run out of everyone else's money. This one seems determined to do so in record time. And the only losers, Madam Deputy Speaker, will be the British people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, can I congratulate Tottenham Hotspur and Crystal Palace football clubs on both winning silverware for the first time in a long time. North and South London celebrate, well, both sides of Manchester commiserate, I'm afraid. But anyway, she asked me about something important. Can I just say that now that the injunction has been lifted, with the permission of Mr Speaker, we will do a statement, the Defence Secretary will do a statement later today, probably at the end of business, on the future of the Diego Garcia military base following those developments. And I know the whole House will want to send a very clear message, Madam Deputy Speaker, that we condemn the brutal murder of the Israeli embassy staff in Washington overnight. We stand firmly together against anti-Semitism. And today also marks the 8th anniversary of the Manchester Arena attack in my constituency. And I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House will be with the families of those affected. I also want to put on record my reflection of the determination of Figan Murray with her campaigning for Martin's Law. I'm really proud that it was this Labour government and our Prime Minister who kept that promise to Figan to introduce Martin's Law, which is now an Act of Parliament. Today also marks a year since the general election was called, Madam Deputy Speaker. In the rain, I think we all remember that. But let's be honest, the rain is still pouring on the Conservative Party. They don't seem to have learnt very much. they might have thought that from that day things couldn't get even worse, but they are doing, aren't they? But I do want to say to the Honourable Lady, I very much respect her and enjoy working with her on the Modernisation Committee and across the House, and I thank her for yet again stepping in at short notice to cover for the Shadow Leader, who I think is performing other parliamentary functions elsewhere. I'm sure we'll see him back soon. She asks me about grooming gangs, and I just want to be absolutely clear that this government, myself included, we want the victims and the survivors to be at the absolute heart of everything that we do, and that their terrible experiences are acted on and that those responsible are brought to justice. And that's exactly what we are doing, and we will leave no stone unturned in bringing about justice for the victims. And what they want first and foremost is for action to be taken for all of those recommendations, those many recommendations of the previous National Inquiry to be implemented, and that's what we're doing. And also that Louise Casey's full audit of these matters will be brought to this House in very short order. She asks about a number of issues relating to the economy, but I do think, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's just worth us reminding ourselves what we inherited and what we have actually had to deal with since we came into office. We had to fix the gaping hole, and they don't want to talk about it, the gaping hole that their party left in the public finances. Pay deals on desks but unfunded. Billions of pounds on asylum hotels not accounted for. All the reserves gone in July of the financial year. New hospitals, nothing more than a work of fiction. And that's why we had to come in and fix the economy and get economic stability back into the economy. Because those who pay the heaviest price when the economy crashes and when markets lose confidence are those on fixed incomes, like pensioners and the poorest in society. And it's also the value of people's pensions that fall as well. So we've acted on the £22 billion black hole, and we've got the economy going again. And they don't like to hear it, but that's exactly what we're doing. Growth is up. Interest rates have been cut 4 times since the general election. 500,000 more people have moved into work since the general election, and the UK is now the fastest growing European economy in the G7. And real wages have gone up for the first time in a decade after the party opposite left living standards fallen for the first time in our history over their parliament. So we are fixing the mess that they left behind. And she asks about winter fuel as well. And as the Prime Minister made clear yesterday, now that the economy is showing those signs of recovery because of the actions that we've taken, we want to look at that threshold. Because first and foremost, we want to make sure that people feel the benefits of that economic growth and that they've got more money in their pockets, and that includes pensions as well. However, we won't be making spending commitments without saying where the money's coming from, and it's absolutely right that those decisions are made in a future fiscal event, as the Prime Minister said yesterday. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, a year on from that rainy day on Downing Street, it couldn't be clearer, could it really? Because the Conservative Party really are having an existential identity crisis. A year on from their worst defeat, they're still going backwards. They don't know who they are anymore. They don't know what they stand for anymore, and they just don't know what they're even doing. They once proudly stood for free trade, and now they're against any trade deals. They used to claim to be the party of business, but in opposing our agreement with the EU, they're setting themselves against the FSB, the CBI, the British Chamber of Commerce, Hospitality UK and the Food and Drink Association. They were once for levelling up and reindustrialisation of the North, but now they're against new energy infrastructure and the jobs of the future. And they were once compassionate Conservatives, I remember that very famously, supporting the NHS, but now they oppose the much-needed funding that it's getting. So A year on, Madam Deputy Speaker, for that rainy day in Downing Street. They just haven't learnt a thing, and they haven't said sorry for the mess they've left behind, whether it's on the economy or whether it's on prisons, that we just heard earlier from a statement. It's down to this Labour government to clear up the mess that they left, to fix the economy, to fix public services, boost people's living standards, cut immigration and get the waiting list down.
John Trickett.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Can I associate myself first with the comments repudiating anti-Semitism from my honourable right-honourable friend, the leader. In South Hemsworth, in my constituency, there is a clay pit where they've been working for 14 years, 4 years after the licence expired. Last year, an enforcement notice was taken out by the Environment Agency, and now we hear there are multiple breaches of the licence, but nothing has yet been done to close that operation down. So can we have a debate in government time on the enforcement powers of the Environment Agency in order that I can express my wish that immediate action is now taking place to protect that community?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear about the situation he describes in his constituency, where he does great work on behalf of his constituents, and that enforcement action isn't being taken where it should be. I will ensure that the Minister has heard his question today and that the Environment Agency take the action that they should be doing.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Marie Goldman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Yesterday, it was revealed by the charities Tommy's and Sands that, tragically, delays in improving NHS maternity care are costing the lives of hundreds of babies a year. It follows the Care Quality Commission's findings that 65% of maternity units are not sufficiently safe, putting women and babies under threat. So will the leader grant government time to debate the crisis unfolding in our maternity units, the failure to implement the immediate and essential actions in the Ockenden review, and the government's decision to end the ring-fencing of £100 million for vital improvements to maternity care?
Hear, hear.
Well, can I thank her for that question? And as a mother myself, and I'm sure many others across this House, we all pay tribute to the amazing work that midwives and our maternity services do. I'm sure we can all remember every midwife that we have dealt with through our own births and other people's. She's absolutely right that after the parlour state that our maternity services were left in by the previous government, we do need to learn the lessons, and we need to make sure that our maternity services are fit for purpose, that they have the funding that they need, and that we take on board all of the experiences of those that have used the services and of the many inquiries, including the Ockenden inquiry. That's what the Secretary of State is doing. He will come to this House after he's considered all of those findings and all of those conversations to make an update. But can I assure her that the funding levels for maternity services have not gone down at all since the election, even though she describes the ring fence?
Carolyn Harris.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Over the last few days, the Welsh Rugby Union has announced plans to introduce a disproportionate funding formula that will disadvantage both the Ospreys and the Scarlets Rugby Union teams. Will the Leader of the House ask colleagues at the Department of Culture, Media and Sport to add their voices to a group of cross-party Welsh MPs who are asking the WRU to find a way to protect and equally support all four equally important regional Welsh rugby teams?
Well, she's a great champion for Welsh rugby and raises these issues with me regularly in these sessions, and I'm really sorry to hear about the new funding arrangements. I'm sure that Welsh Rugby have heard her question today and will respond and take action, and I will ensure a minister gets in touch with her as well.
On behalf of the Backbench Committee, Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Chairman sends his apologies to you in the House. I know he will be pleased to have heard the Leader's comments about Tottenham Hotspur. In addition to the business already announced, the committee agreed at its meeting earlier this week that there would be another select committee report on Thursday, June the 5th, and that will be the Justice Select Committee. They also agreed debates in the Chamber on the 19th of June on incontinence and Windrush Day. And newly accepted debates for Westminster Hall for the 16th of June would be hydrogen-powered aviation, the role of carers, education in improving social mobility, and Down syndrome regression order. Could I also remind members that application forms for the main Estimates Day debate, which we anticipate in late June, are now available on the Backbench Business Committee website. And as regards general applications, we are swamped with applications, which is good news in one sense, but I would urge members to ensure that they get their applications in as quickly as possible, particularly if they're looking for a chamber debate, as we've got enough on the waiting list now to fill the chamber until November. Moving on, Madam Deputy Speaker, last week I was privileged to meet some teenagers from the Teenage Cancer Trust who were in Parliament following submitting a letter into the Department of Health and Social Care. They were remarkable young people who have clearly had an awful experience with cancer at an early age. So could I perhaps gently suggest to the leader that she might like to allocate some government time for a debate on that subject? Thank you.
Well, can I first of all thank the honourable gentleman for stepping in for the chair of the Backbench Business Committee, who I understand is still out celebrating in Bilbao and might eventually make his way back when he's finished celebrating, hopefully, and we'll look forward to seeing him after recess. And could I also pay tribute to the honourable gentleman for all his work that he does in business questions and elsewhere in raising the issues around British Steel and many of those issues in his own area of Scunthorpe. He raises a really important issue of teenage cancer, and I know that many of us have met those young people who are living with cancer and are getting treatment from cancer. I know the Secretary of State is particularly committed to these issues, and I'm sure he will be updating the House regularly.
Clive Efford.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On Tuesday, those that are infected and affected by the contaminated blood scandal protested in Whitehall and handed in letters to number 10 Downing Street. They're angry that they've been excluded from overseeing the compensation process, and that the speed of the compensation process as a consequence of that is very slow. The government has promised a debate in government time on the contaminated blood scandal. Can I ask my right honourable friend, are we likely to get that debate this side of the summer recess?
Well, can I thank him once again for raising these important matters, which he does consistently and regularly. He knows that the government is committed to and will pay comprehensive compensation to the infected and affected in the infected blood scandal, and we are working at pace to ensure that compensation is paid out. We are also committed to a debate. We had a statement last week, I think, or the week before, a couple of weeks ago, to this House, and I will ensure that a debate, as promised, is forthcoming.
Oliver Dowden.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I've been working with residents of Meadowcroft Retirement Home in Bushey. They have suffered repeated failures by Anchor Homes, which has culminated this week in residents not being able to get an ambulance to that facility because of a faulty key box. Will the leader therefore find time for the House to debate the exploitation of vulnerable residents by companies like this?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear of this shocking incident from Anchor Homes. They have a responsibility to ensure, as he knows, that care can get in, that ambulances can get in, and this is really shocking to hear. And it's important that we do make sure that our care homes are operating to the highest standards, that they have the best people working there, and that all the residents can be safe and cared for. And I'm sure this would make a very popular topic for a debate.
Matt Weston.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Since the creation of the role of the National Security Advisor in 2010, every incumbent has come before the Joint Committee on National Security Strategy until this government. the Leader of the House will understand how accountability to this place is the cornerstone of our democracy. A failure for the NSA to meet with the committee would set a dangerous precedent for future governments to avoid parliamentary scrutiny. So will she use her position as a representative of this House in government to make sure that the NSA is held to account and appears before the committee?
Well, can I thank him for raising this with me directly and here today, and with the Leader of the House of Lords as well. And I will respond to him properly shortly as well. But we do take accountability very seriously indeed, and I will ensure that the committee is updated on the government's work to protect UK national security, and that relevant people are able to come before the committee to be scrutinised.
Before I call the next member, I am hoping to end this business statement around 2 o'clock. So can members please help each other out by keeping questions and answers short? Andrew Rosindell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Following the outcome of the UK-EU summit earlier this week, will the Leader of the House grant a debate in government time about the state of British democracy? On the 23rd of June 2016, 70% of my constituents in Romford voted to leave the European Union, as did the rest of the United Kingdom. Yet this so-called EU reset is, in fact, a surrender of our hard-won Brexit freedoms. Rule-taking from Brussels once again, ECJ back in charge, British fish handed over to 2038, and billions of payments back to the European Union. Will the Leader of the House please let the British people's views be paramount and not the short-term views of this government?
Well, I think what people voted for in the referendum was to leave the European Union, but to retain many benefits of trade and cooperation, which his government failed to negotiate in the aftermath of that referendum, and this government has brought about. And he can't have it both ways, because one of the promises that his government made was that leaving the EU meant we could do lots of other free trade deals with other countries. That's what this government has delivered. A trade deal with India, unique and unprecedented, and a trade deal with the US as well. So we can't have surrendered ourselves to the EU if we're getting those trade deals at the same time as securing the benefits. And he will know that in actual fact what has happened since we've left the EU is that we've had to adopt all the standards and regulations from the EU in order to continue trading with them, but we've had absolutely no benefit from doing that. And now we've got those free trade benefits as well as doing that. So I'm sorry to say our deal is far better than the deal that his government got.
Neil Coyle.
On Saturday, my constituent Vimal Pandya received Freedom of Bermondsey at Southwark Cathedral for his exceptional work running the Royal Hive Community Kitchen, feeding hundreds of people weekly. For his equally exceptional work during COVID lockdowns, he was recognised by Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. But he has recently been detained by the Home Office. So can we have a debate in government time to ensure that Home Office exceptional circumstances criteria do recognise truly exceptional people like Vimal and the amazing contribution they make to communities like mine?
Well, he'll be aware that I can't comment on individual cases, but I will ensure a minister gives him a reply on his individual cases. And we are regularly in this House discussing issues relating to immigration and visas, and I will ensure there's ample opportunity in the future as well.
Helen Morgan.
And I'm the chair of the Digital Communities All-Party Group, and at our meeting on Tuesday we heard from industry executives that the shared rural network has been rolled out well ahead of schedule. But I'm afraid my constituents haven't really noticed any discernible difference to their mobile signal on the ground. So I wonder if we could have a debate in government time to discuss what a decent mobile signal looks like for rural areas and how on earth we're actually going to deliver it.
Yeah. Well, mobile black spots is a real challenge for many of our constituents, and thank her for raising these issues today. I will ensure she gets a full response, but I know that any time anyone applies for a debate on these issues, they are very well subscribed to.
Caroline Downey.
Thank Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Leader of the House may be aware that cheerleading is one of the fastest growing sports in the UK and also achieves the remarkable feat of keeping young girls engaged in sport at an age when so many of them disengage with school sports. But she might not know that two of the best cheerleading teams in the country are in the Gosport constituency. In fact, both Storm and Jessie Lee Dance and Cheer came back from the World Summit in Florida early this month with gold medals with first place trophies. I would love to see many more young people get involved in this sport. It has now been recognised as a sport by Sport England, but they're not yet able to apply for funding to support more disadvantaged youngsters to get involved. So I wonder if the Leader of the House would lead the cheer for cheerleading in, as a debate here in Parliament.
Show us your pom-poms.
Well, I don't have my pom-poms with me, but if I did, I certainly would. But she raises a really important matter. Cheerleading, I'm really glad, has been recognised as a sport because, as she says, I think particularly for young women and girls, this is a great way to keep active and to keep involved in sport. And can I congratulate her constituents on their gold medals and for all that they're doing for cheerleading this sport into the future.
Joe Platt.
So to mark the National Association of British Market Authorities Love Your Market campaign, I want to express my support for Lee Market in my constituency. It's a vibrant hub of creativity, entrepreneurship and community spirit, and this Saturday it will be hosting live events and workshops. So will the Leader of the House join me in celebrating local markets and recognising how they remain vital to the regeneration of our town centres?
Well, Lee Market is brilliant, and thank her for raising it here this morning. Love Your Local Markets is a great campaign because she's absolutely right that markets really are at the heart of the regeneration of our town centres.
Sir Christopher Chirp.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can we have an early debate on the refusal of the Bank of England to comply with its 2% inflation target? And will the Leader of the House facilitate a meeting between me and Treasury Ministers to see whether the government will be willing to support my Bank of England inflation targets bill due for second reading on the 11th of July, which makes provision for penalties against the Court of Directors of the Bank of England for failure to meet inflation targets?
Well, we did have Treasury oral questions earlier this week where he could have raised these issues, but I'm really proud that the previous Labour government gave the Bank of England independence. I think that's been a really important part of the fiscal stability that we've had in this country, sometimes ignored by his government and the party opposite, I'm sorry to say. Inflation is on its way down, interest rates are on their way down, and that's what this government's delivering.
Paulette Hamilton.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the unchecked proliferation of HMOs and exempt accommodation is devastating communities across my constituency of Birmingham-Erdington. Birmingham now has the highest number of exempt accommodation claims in the country. Wards in my constituency rank amongst the worst affected by HMOs in the city, crippling neighbourhoods and overwhelming local services. Given the urgency of this crisis, will the Leader of the House commit to scheduling a debate in government time to discuss how to ensure no community is left behind while this issue is left in limbo? Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Well, I know this is a huge issue in Birmingham, the quality of HMOs and exempt accommodation, and it's frankly a disgrace, the quality of it. We are determined to improve the quality of supported housing, and we are consulting on reforms in this regard, and at the same time we're progressing with the Renters' Rights Bill in the other House, and that will give local authorities more powers in this area.
Flynn.
I begin by echoing the revulsion of the Leader of the House in respect of the anti-Semitic murders in the United States of America just in recent hours. Cruel and a policy that sees the third child treated almost as a second-class citizen. Not my phrasing, Madam Deputy Speaker, but that of Gordon Brown in describing the Labour Party's two-child benefit cap. And it is the Labour Party's two-child benefit cap because they went through the voting lobbies to retain it just last year. Now, in Scotland, we know the SNP is going to be scrapping the two-child benefit cap. But based upon his U-turn yesterday in respect of the winter fuel allowance, I was wondering whether the Leader of the House can advise us whether another one is likely in respect of this heinous policy.
Well, this government, this Labour government, like the last Labour government, is absolutely determined to reduce child poverty in this country, and we will be judged on our actions over the course of this Parliament, whether we are reducing child poverty or not, and it's something we are determined to do. So I thank him for his advice, and I thank the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown, who I greatly respect, for his advice as well. But our child poverty strategy will be coming out later this summer, and he'll have ample opportunity to discuss that then.
Serena Brackenridge.
Deputy Speaker, will the Leader of the House join me in thanking Wensfield History Society and all who organised the moving 80th anniversary service for the Lancaster bomber crash, which took place just 9 days after VE Day in 1945, where 7 young airmen lost their lives in Wensfield. It was deeply moving to stand with the crew's family and see the community come together to pay their respects and watch an awe-inspiring fly past.
Well, what a lovely tribute the Honourable Lady's just paid there to the History Society in her constituency for marking the 80th anniversary of the Lancaster bomber crash in her constituency. And it's moments like these where people come together to recreate what happened that we all stand together to remember the great sacrifice that all of those gave in the Second World War.
Sir John Whittingdale.
Can I ask the Leader on what basis the Government is claiming that the Lord's Amendment to the Data Bill engages financial privilege, given that it contains no spending commitments? Will the Government engage with supporters of the amendment in the other place and with the creative industries in order to find a way forward rather than trying to use spurious procedural arguments?
Well, can I assure him that we obviously are debating the Lord's amendments after this session shortly, and we'll have ample time to do that. It will go back to the Lords, and we'll continue to have those debates between the two houses on this important matter, which I know is of great importance to many members across this House. We are committed to trying to get the balance right between supporting our valued creative industries and the rights that they hold, and also supporting the future of the AI industry. And that's why we will be legislating in the future around some of these issues, and we've got the consultation running. But we do welcome the debate, and we will continue to have that debate with members across both houses.
Ben Goldsborough.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The wonderful Wymondham train station in my constituency will be marking its 180th birthday in July, which is great news. But we can't roll out the cake just yet because it's not accessible to all. It's currently, the centre platform cannot be reached. So can I urge for a debate within government time on how we can get the Access for All funding supported for all the stations up and down the country that desperately need it?
Well, can I thank him for raising this issue of access for all in his constituency in Norfolk. And it gets raised with me very, very regularly at these sessions. And I know that ministers will come to this House and update us shortly on the review of the access for all funding. But also, I would encourage him and others to apply for debate, because I think it would be very popular indeed.
Dr. Andrew Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. One of the burning issues in my constituency is waste incinerators. When can we have a debate on the government's proposals for either placing a moratorium on these things like Scotland and Wales, or introducing a tax on incineration, a bit like the landfill tax, to encourage reduction of waste and reusing and recycling it rather than consigning it to the great landfill in the sky?
Well, absolutely. We are taking steps, and we have set out new rules around waste incinerators, and they will only receive planning approval if they meet new strict criteria, and they must demonstrate how they're going to move forward and be part of the circular economy and not part of landfill. But it does get raised with me a lot in these sessions. I know it's a matter of importance to this House, so I will ensure that he gets an update from ministers and that the rest of the House is kept updated.
Melanie Ward.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Community ownership of assets can be incredibly valuable, and I'd like to congratulate the village of Ochtertool on their new community ownership of the Teal pub. Meanwhile, in North Queensferry, the community is working hard to take ownership of the Albert Hotel, but their efforts were blocked by SNP government ministers who rejected their application to exercise their right to buy. Will the Minister join me in urging the Scottish Government to give way to the Save the Albert campaign, reverse the decision and let the residents of North Queensferry take this much-loved village asset into community ownership? And will she make government time for a debate on community ownership?
Well, community ownership and community right to buy is a key part of this government's agenda to devolution, and I'm really sorry to hear that the Scottish Government has rejected the application for her constituent. That is something that I don't think should have happened, but we will be debating the importance of community right to buy in forthcoming legislation.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Val Upton is a pillar of the community in the village of Linfield in my constituency of Mid Sussex. Among the many hats she wears in her village is her involvement in the Royal British Legion. And when I saw Val a couple of weeks ago at the 30th celebration of the Eastern Road Nature Reserve, she asked me to find out whether there could be more notice given for celebrations and commemoration events for VJ Day than were provided for VE Day. So I asked the Leader of the House, is it possible to get more notice?
Well, can I thank Val Upton for all the community work that she does in Mid-Sussex in her constituency. I hear her question. I will ask that question of ministers and make sure that she and Val get the reply they deserve.
Emma Foodie.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The villages and towns across my Cramlington and Kilnworth constituency rely heavily on our bus services. And despite this, my big bus survey, which I've been running recently, shows that local people too often find buses to be unreliable, inaccessible, and they don't take them to the places they need them to go. Will the upcoming bus bill be an opportunity to debate how this government is putting communities back in the driving seat and how a system can work for all of our areas?
Well, I'm really pleased to hear about the results from her big bus survey. She's absolutely right. People want affordable, reliable bus services that take them to places that they need to go. And that's why our buses bill will give local areas the powers to do that. I've seen what happens when local areas like mine in Manchester have those powers, and what they've done is increased massively the amount of people using those bus services and brought in extra funding from doing so.
Dr. Luke Evans.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And last week I was lucky enough to have the second bill on Friday. Unfortunately, it was timed out, rightfully so, for the assisted dying side. Two of my constituents, Rue and Ada, have got in contact with me about it. It was about dog-on-dog attacks. Now, I must declare an interest. Rue and Ada are my whippets and they live with me, but they are concerned about dog-on-dog attacks, as are many people up and down in Leicestershire. So could the government find time to have a debate on dog-on-dog attacks and responsible dog ownership?
Well, absolutely. I'm sorry that Rue and Ada, if they have ever been on a dog-on-dog attack, I'm sure that they are well in his ownership. But it's a really important matter. I'm sorry we didn't get to his private member's bill, but maybe there'll be further opportunity later this session to do so. But he raises a very important matter.
Jonathan Brash.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Hartlepool's seaside community of Seaton Carew has earned a top quality award from environmental charity Keep Britain Tidy. The Seaside Award accolade is only given to English beaches that are safe, clean and meet the highest environmental standards. Will the Leader of the House join with me in congratulating council staff and volunteer litter pickers, including the brilliant people from Hartlepool Big Town Tidy Up, for their exceptional work in making our community a better place for us all to live?
Well, absolutely. Can I thank all the volunteers and council staff from the Big Town Tidy Up for getting Seaton Carew to be so tidy and winning the Seaside Award. What a fantastic activity that sounds. That's bringing, I'm sure, lots of tourists and enjoyment for local people in their clean seaside town.
Adam Dance.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In January, the CQC warned that paediatric care at Yeovil District
hospital requires significant improvement. The maternity unit has now suddenly closed, initially for 6 months, creating real fear. This follows the closure of the hospital's hyperacute stroke unit. Can we have a debate on government time on improving hospitals, investment, management and infrastructure so that we can discuss protecting hospital services in Yeovil and across the country?
Well, this government's absolutely committed to improving our NHS and hospital services in Yeovil and elsewhere after what we inherited from the party opposite in terms of our public services. I will ensure that he gets a ministerial reply about what's happening in his local hospital with PEDS and other services and why they've been closed and what action is being taken after the CQC report.
Elsie Blundell.
Madam Deputy Speaker, as the Leader of the House knows, good internet connectivity is vital for economic growth, productivity and ensuring that everyone has access to the benefits of being online. But in many parts of Middleton, in my constituency, less than 6 miles from Manchester city centre, people and businesses are being held back, many with no connectivity whatsoever. I've been working locally to address the issue. Covering my campaign, the Manchester Evening News reported the entire town has become a signal dead spot and locals are sick of it. Will the Leader work with me to secure a debate to provide a forum for members to relay similar concerns about the lack of mobile signal in urban areas and to ensure that the full scale of this national challenge is relayed to government?
Well, can I congratulate her on her campaign for all the attention that she's getting and bringing her community together to tackle the mobile black spot in Rochdale and in Middleton as well. I will ensure that she gets a ministerial reply, but as this is the second question relating to mobile black spots from across the House, can I suggest that members get together and get a debate on this important matter?
Joe Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This government is implementing its plans for UK transport, including major interventions on rail and buses, but also road and aviation. So far, it has ignored the plight of UK island residents, including like mine on the Isle of Wight, where we pay up to £400 to take a car back and forth a 4-mile journey. Will the government do more, and will the Leader of the House do more by allowing a debate on government time in this House to discuss the cost of transport to and from UK islands?
Well, can I first of all thank him for recognising all the work that the government is doing to make sure that our transport infrastructure, trains, rail, aviation, our transport infrastructure is there into the future and is fit for purpose. I hear what he says about the particular issues faced by his constituents on the Isle of Wight and on other isles, and I will ensure he gets a full ministerial response, and I would encourage him to apply for an adjournment debate because I think that would be a very good topic for him.
Ewan Steinbank.
Speaker, as honourable friends in the Scottish Parliamentary Labour Party are sick of being reminded, it has been another distinctly fantastic season for football in Falkirk. Will the Leader join me in congratulating everyone at Falkirk Football Club for securing back-to-back promotions and a return to Premiership football for the first time in 15 years? Congratulate them on the restoration of the Youth Academy, as well as congratulating Staines Thistle and Allendale for becoming the first Falkirk-based club to win the Scottish Amateur Cup in over 100 years.
Well, these things don't always go down well with absolutely everybody, but can I very much join him in congratulating Falkirk FC on their back-to-back promotion and all the success that they've had this season, and I hope that continues for them into the next one.
Sarah Dyke.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The recent no-notice closure of the special care baby unit and maternity unit at Yeovil District Hospital has shocked residents across Glastonbury and Somerton. A soon-to-be first-time dad from Martock told me, "We are now left in this limbo state as the local NHS trust takes care of its poor management affairs." He is not alone. Many have expressed their concerns that not adequate steps have seemingly been taken by the ICB and Somerset NHS Trust to protect maternity care services in Yeovil. So, could we have a debate on government time, specifically on improving maternity care services?
Well, again, I'm really sorry to hear about the closure of services at Yeovil Hospital. I don't know the reasons behind it, but I will ensure that all members relevant to the catchment area of that hospital are updated by ministers about what the action plan is to reopen those services as quickly as possible. But she raises an important point, which many across this House take a great interest in, ensuring that we've got the very best world-class maternity services available for every single community across the country, and I'm sure it would make a very good topic for debate.
David Baines.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituent, Corporal Andy Reid, MBE, was severely injured while on patrol in Helmand Province in 2009. He defied the odds to survive and has defied the odds every day since. He's undertaken a huge amount of charity work, including through his foundation, the Standing Tall Foundation, which does incredible work across St Helens and across the whole region and the whole country, in fact. Today, at a ceremony in St Helens, he's receiving the King's Coronation Medal. Will the Leader of the House please join me in paying tribute to Andy and all the work he's done, and thanking him for his service and everything he continues to do for people up and down the country?
Well, absolutely delighted to join him in congratulating Corporal Andy Reid on receiving the King's Coronation Medal today in his constituency of St Helens. He sounds like a remarkable man who's made a remarkable contribution. I'm sure the whole House will wish him well.
Dr Neil Shastrahurst.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The petition to protect Northern Ireland veterans from prosecution has, in the matter of days, amassed almost over 98,500 signatures. Can the leader commit, once it reaches the 100,000 threshold, that it will be granted debating time at the earliest opportunity?
Well done.
Well, as he knows, all petitions that receive the 100,000 signatures are considered by the Petitions Committee and are allocated time in Westminster Hall. There are some issues like this that attract a great deal of attention. That's what the petitions process is for. And in fact, the Modernisation Committee, which I chair, we are looking at whether we can give more opportunity to the Petitions Committee to get more of these debates in the floor of the House in Westminster Hall.
Andrew Pakes.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I first put on record and associate myself with the comments about the terrible anti-Semitic attacks in the US overnight. Madam Deputy Speaker, the horrors in Gaza aren't just about the young lives lost, they're also about lost opportunities. These last few weeks I've been speaking to an incredibly bright young Palestinian student in Gaza who's due to start university in Cambridge in September. But she can't get a study visa because she's trapped in Gaza by the bombing and can't get to a visa centre. She's supported by myself, the university and the Cooperative Group, a great Manchester business that looks after its values well. Can I ask the Leader if she'll help find time for a debate about how we solve challenges like this and how we support students in conflict zones get the best for their futures?
Well, can I thank him for raising this, because I think personal stories like this really do bring to light, if we needed it any more, of the true horrors that are happening in Gaza at the moment, and that's why this government has taken a very strong stance about some of those issues. I'm really sorry to hear about the struggles that his constituent, his hope-to-be constituent is having in getting a visa, and I will ensure that the Minister gives him a full response about this case, but it is a very important matter he raises.
Pete Wishart.
A statement about political advertising and what is not acceptable, because a disgusting racist advert has been released by Reform at the Hamilton by-election, where a speech from the Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar has been selectively edited to question the identity and loyalty of the Scottish Labour leader. Now, we may profoundly disagree with Anas Sarwar on a range of issues, but he is a proud Scot who always attempts to put the interests of his country first. In Scotland, we are united against this sort of gutter politics, and would you agree that this is everything that we are not in Scotland?
Well, can I really thank the honourable gentleman for the way in which he asked that question, and for putting on record his disgust, quite honestly, at the way in which people do warp what other people say and edit things together to give a different impression of their values and of their opinions, as sounds like is the case against Anas Sarwar, and I thank him greatly for that. We do absolutely have to tackle mis- and disinformation, especially when it comes to our political discourse, and parties that purport to be mainstream parties really should know better than to engage in this type of activity. The Electoral Commission do have powers in this regard, but we recognise that those powers and some of the laws around this need strengthening, and that's why we're bringing forward an elections bill next year. But I hope that the Reform Party have heard his question today and take down the video that he describes.
Joanna Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Scottish National Party pretend to be on the side of our elderly people in our communities. But despite the rhetoric, SNP-led Renfrewshire Integrated Board have taken the heartless decision to slash funding to the food train. That's a vital volunteer initiative that supports our elderly residents with pre-prepared meals, shopping and helps them to live independently. This cut to their funding is despite the Scottish Government having received a record-breaking funding settlement from this Labour Government. So will the Leader of the House join with me in condemning the Renfrewshire IJB's heartless decision with regards to cutting the funding to the food train?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear about the funding decisions for the food train. It sounds like a short-sighted decision here. As she says, this government has given the Scottish Government a record settlement in its budget, and I hope that they will use that record budget to support local services like those in her constituency.
Victoria Collins.
Speaker, I'm sure we would all agree on the importance of protecting our chalk streams from pollution. I wrote to the Environment Agency nearly 2 months ago on the 28th of March regarding their investigation into Markyate wastewater treatment works, which has now been discharging raw sewage into the precious chalk stream in the River Ver for over 4,000 hours. Despite the seriousness of this issue and its impact on my constituents, I have not yet to receive a reply. Will the Leader of the House offer her assistance in securing a response and a meeting with the Environment Agency on this urgent matter?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that she's not heard back from the Environment Agency, and others have already raised that with me today and do on other occasions where those enforcement powers aren't being used and responses are not being given, and that's just not acceptable. I will ensure that the Environment Agency have heard her question today, but I would just reassure her that this government is absolutely committed to cleaning up our waterways, to give people the powers that they need to take on water bosses where they need taking on. That's why we've got the Water Special Measures Act now in force, and there will be further legislation coming forward to make some wider reforms to our water industry.
Alistair Strathern.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's been fantastic to secure investment from GB Energy in much-needed rooftop solar for Lister Hospital, saving thousands off the hospital's bills that can be better spent treating patients. But we shouldn't stop there. Far too many homes in my constituency are currently being built without solar panels, meaning their new residents are missing out on the bill-saving potential they bring. Could we have a statement from the Secretary of State for Housing to make sure that we're toughening up regulations on solar panels so that more new homes in the future are built with all of the benefits they come with?
I'm really glad to hear that the investment from GB Energy into solar panels on his local hospital is welcome and is already taking effect. He raises a really important issue about how we can make sure that solar and all the other advances in green technologies can be really fully utilised in new homes of the future, and that's what this government is committed to doing.
Anne Davies.
My constituency's daughter, Greta Marie Otterson, and her fiancé, Arno Els Quinton, tragically died in Vietnam on Christmas Day. The limoncello drink, which had been supplied by a local restaurant, was contaminated with methanol, a toxic industrial chemical sometimes used instead of alcohol. Greta's parents, Susan and Paul Otterson, are seeking transparency and justice. And notwithstanding their attempt to do so over the last 5 months, they remain without answers. Could the Leader of the House please ask the Foreign Office to urgently provide them with an update, either Greta's parents or my office, on the ongoing criminal case? Thank you.
Leader of the House.
Well, absolutely. I'm sure, like many other members of this House, I remember distinctly hearing of the shocking nature of this case over Christmas, and I'm sorry that her constituents have suffered since and not been able to get the answers that they need to the deaths of their loved ones. I will absolutely ensure that the Minister is in touch with her at the earliest possible opportunity to ensure that her constituents get the answers and support that they need in this case.
Adam Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As the first metrologist elected to this House, I think it falls to me to remind members that Tuesday earlier this week was World Metrology Day, and that this year we particularly celebrated the 150th anniversary of the Meter Convention. That's the international treaty that established the Bureau International des Poids et Mesures and allows the creation of the modern metrological framework that allows our modern world to exist. As the Product Regulation and Metrology Bill passes through this House, Madam Deputy Speaker, will the Leader of the House join me in wishing everybody a very happy, if slightly belated, World Metrology Day?
Well, absolutely. We all bring our own special expertise to this House, and I think the Honourable Gentleman's expertise is particularly noteworthy and unique. By the sound of it. So I'm sure we can all congratulate him and others on World Metrology Day, and I'm really pleased that we've had a bill coming into this House with his arrival to this House as well on the product regulation and meteorology. He can take full credit for it.
Adam.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. A few short years ago, when I was a bright-eyed 9-year-old boy, I visited the Leicester City football training ground of Beaver Drive. That was the first time I saw the young Gary Winston Lineker. He went on to be my sporting hero, being top scorer at virtually every football club he's played, Golden Boot winner in '86 World Cup and an England captain. But for the past 26 years, Gary's been a national Saturday night institution as the face of Match of the Day. He's brought us sharp analysis, very dry humour, and even when Leicester City won the league, he brought out his boxing shorts. So will the Leader of the House join me in paying tribute to our Gary for his remarkable run on Match of the Day, his contribution to countless childhood cancer charities, and wish him all the best as he signs off from the sofa for the very last time this weekend?
Leader of the House.
Well, can I thank him for taking the opportunity to raise that? I'm sure the whole House will want to pay tribute and thank Gary Lineker, who has been a remarkable Match of the Day presenter for many, many years now. He really has brought football and football highlights to life for many of us, and I'm sure we will all want to pay tribute to him.
Claire Hughes.
It celebrated its 129th anniversary last Sunday. So would the Leader of the House join me in thanking the Friends of the Pier for organising an amazing event, just one that's happening this year, as Bangor celebrates its 1500th year.
Leader of the House.
Well, happy birthday to Bangor Pier, and I'm sure we'll all join in that celebration with her.
Jamie Stern.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. People living in the north of Scotland are forced to pay extortionate delivery charges for goods they order from further south. Delivery charges far higher than people in Glasgow or Edinburgh or Birmingham would have to pay. This is a fundamental injustice. Could I respectfully ask the Leader of the House, could we have a debate in government time on something that's very, very wrong indeed?
Leader of the House.
Well, he raises a really important matter, the differential in delivery costs for rural communities and communities like his, who often are the ones who need those deliveries the most. And I shall certainly raise that with ministers and get a full response for him.
Michelle Welsh.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In just over a week's time, the independent review into maternity services at Nottingham University Hospitals Trust is due to close to new cases. This is the largest review into maternity services in NHS history, with over 2,300 families now involved. Will the Leader of the House join me in thanking Donna Ockenden, her team and the affected families, and also encourage anyone else who can to come forward before the 31st of May? And I'm the third person in this House on business questions to raise this today. I would like, as would those affected families, for this government to spend time to debate in this House the future of maternity services as the issues become more and more pressing.
Leader of the House.
Well, can I join her in thanking Donna Ockenden for all the tremendous work that she's doing into the independent review of maternity services at Nottingham University. As she says, a number of people, including herself, have raised the future of maternity services and the quality of maternity services with me today. I will, when I leave the chamber, speak to the Secretary of State for Health and encourage him to make time to come to this House and update the House and ensure that members are well informed about the review and its progress.
Tom Morrison.
Thank you,
Madam Deputy Speaker. On New Year's Day, hundreds of homes and businesses were flooded across Cheadle constituency, and this followed similar floods in 2016 and 2019. Since then, residents have been desperately fighting to get a commitment from government and the Environment Agency to ensure this never happens again, but the process really isn't transparent and clear. So can we have a debate on how communities can engage organisations like the Environment Agency to help secure their areas from flooding so this never happens again?
Leader of the House.
Well, I remember well the floods in his constituency, and I'm really sorry that his constituents are still dealing with the aftermath of that, and they're unable to get the answers that they need and the support they need from the Environment Agency. A number of colleagues have now raised the lack of responsiveness of the Environment Agency with me today, so I will ensure that they are all heard. But rest assured, this government takes flooding and the flood consequences of flood incredibly seriously. That's why we've set up the task force and put record levels of funding into it.
Mark Sewards.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. As I'm sure you know, it's time for trams in West Yorkshire. I want to thank all of the colleagues from across this House and the other place as well for supporting Tracy Braben and I as we lead the charge to secure mass transit in West Yorkshire. The benefits are obvious. We know it'll create jobs, we know it'll bring growth, we know it'll bring investment. And so ahead of the spending review, will the Leader of the House grant a debate in government time on why it is finally time to bring trams back to Leeds and bring trams to West Yorkshire?
Well, absolutely. He's raised this with me before, and he's a fantastic campaigner and advocate for the tram system coming to Leeds. I'm sure his near neighbour has heard his question today ahead of the spending review. I'm sure she will also want to see trams coming to Leeds as well. I know what a great benefit they have been for Manchester, and I hope that Leeds gets them soon too.
Claire Young.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Businesses in Thornbury and Yate are crying out for business rates change. From the play shed that's seen its relief cut from 75% to 40%, to the company told they'd have to wait at least a year to get a revaluation after they subdivided some units. So, will the Leader of the House ensure that the Government brings to this House a statement setting out how it will review business rates?
Leader of the House.
Well, she will already be aware that we've made some changes to business rates, bringing in a new lower business rate for small independent businesses in constituencies like hers and others. And I'm sure that in due course further announcements will be made, and I will ensure they are made in the House.
Luke Meyer.
Decisions of this government, NHS waiting times have been falling consistently month on month, but there are still some delays for some very specific kinds of treatment, and my constituent Alan has been waiting over a year for the specialist corrective procedure he urgently needs. So will the Leader of the House agree that these delays in specialist treatment deserve serious parliamentary attention?
Leader of the House.
Well, can I join him in recognising that the waiting lists have now been falling month on month since last year. That's what this government is committed to doing. But we recognise that some specialist treatments are going to be a harder nut to crack, and I will ensure that he's updated on that issue.
And the final question on the business statement, Tessa Munt.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This week is National Epilepsy Week. And epilepsy is more than just seizures. It actually affects every area of somebody's life. With over 630 people suffering in the UK, every single MP in this House will actually have someone with this condition. In light of Epilepsy Week, can we have a debate in government time, please, for the government's commitment to improving access to care and the current treatment for those with this condition, particularly for those whose seizures don't respond to treatments at the moment?
Leader of the House.
Well, can I thank her for raising this during Epilepsy Week? This government is committed to improving care for people with neurological conditions, including epilepsy. We have got a transformation programme underway, and that is improving services, but there's much more to be done and that can be done. I will ensure that her and the rest of the House is kept updated.
And that concludes the business statement.